Hello, it's Linda again with my third ever YouTube video. I think I'm going to stop announcing the number every time. I think the novelty wore off after one. Wow, at what point does a messy bun cease to be a messy bun and just winds up being a mess? Oh my, pardon my hair. Well, I am coming to you tonight with a topic that's a little darker than the last one, which was why I wear my makeup the way I do, why I wear so much of it or whatever. So I just want to give you a trigger warning beforehand. This is a video regarding loss, grief, and the death of a parent. So therefore, if this is something you don't want to be a part of, then please feel free to click out, and I'm sorry I bugged you. Or if you're a glutton for punishment like I am, you'll stay and you will listen to the situation. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to say that I did not even mean this to be a theme, but it seems like every time I talk to you, I'm wearing a black shirt that advertises somebody who's musical. In my first vlog, I was wearing my Ariana Grande hoodie. In my second, I was wearing a Led Zeppelin t-shirt. I don't know if anyone caught that. And tonight, commemoratively and on purpose, I'm wearing my Neil Diamond 50th anniversary concert tee. I say commemoratively because I'm wearing this t-shirt to honor my dad. 2 years ago today, on September 11th, 2017, my dad, Ed McManus, died at Staten Island University Hospital in New York City of colon cancer. So I'm going to tell you the story without ridiculous detail. Some of the situations that have occurred since then, or things that my mother and brothers and I have come up with to cope with the situation, things my dad taught me, however the story goes. So I guess with no further ado, here it is. 2 years ago, the morning that I heard that my father was dead, when I got dressed for the day, I took off from work and I did some household chores, laundry or whatever, to prepare because my house was in shambles and I was going to have to be away for a while to do the funeral and burial stuff. I got dressed up in my day clothes and I put on this t-shirt. There's a story behind this t-shirt. You see, my family and I center around certain artists. We all branch out to our own musical people, but for the most part, our core artists have always been Elton John, Billy Joel, Neil Diamond, Barry Manilow. So my father was a huge opera fan as well. He enjoyed Mary Yolanda. He went through a period where he worshipped Eric Clapton. He was a lifelong Elvis Presley fan. He's responsible for me knowing what music is and appreciating music, past, present, and future. Like he's the reason why I'm so musical, and such an appreciator of music in various genres, right? So we'd all seen Neil Diamond a couple of times. I saw him in 92, 2001, actually right after the towers fell. It's interesting that September 11th. It was maybe 2 weeks later. So in any case, I am a teacher, and so when I bought tickets to see Neil Diamond a few years ago, I was going to take my mother and myself, and I realized after the fact that I'd bought tickets to the concert on parent-teacher night. So I gave my ticket to my dad, and the two of them had a lovely time, and he had just released an album called Melody Road, and so my dad bought the t-shirt that said Melody Road, they had a bang-up time. It was great, and like my mother was on Facebook like posting like video of all my favorite songs by him, and I was like, shut up, stop, you're killing me, because there I was stuck at school. I think I could have been absent, but I was too afraid to do that, and they'd see me online at a concert, I don't know, so I just didn't do it. I chickened out, and I went to school. So anyway, the year later, my brother and his wife got them tickets to Neil Diamond's 50th anniversary concert tour, which was to be his last, because Neil Diamond is 74 and he has Parkinson's and he's retiring. So my brother Kevin and his wife Emily, they got the tickets for my parents, and my mother freaked out. She goes, "Oh no, Linda has to go. She got screwed the last time. We really have to figure this out." So she immediately went online and she got the ticket actually right next to them. Like she actually bought the right seat so that we'd all three be in a row. So the concert was to be in August, and we went. We had a wonderful time, and this is my t-shirt. Now, the concert that my parents went to, though, my dad felt kind of bad for me that I didn't go, and so he gave me his tee, the one that said Melody Road. And I mean, it's huge. He was a 6 foot man. I'm a 5 foot girl. So, like, obviously, it's a nightshirt at best, you know. But I keep it commemoratively, like I said, because he gave it to me. But I bought my own that I wear in the street. You know, this is my size and all, and it's great. Pardon me, because Chloe the dog is barking. Here's my baby Chloe. We're talking about Grandpa, because Grandpa loved Baby. And Grandpa used to watch Baby when Baby was a little tiny puppy, and Mommy had to go to work, and Baby was too little to be alone. This is my cup of Pepsi in my hippie van motif here, so like I said, musical. So anyway, continuing on and getting to the depressing / interesting part. So December of 2016 rolls around, and my dad kept asking me when he would take pictures on his phone of himself or whatever if he looked thin. And he'd always been thin. In his youth, he was called Skinny Eddie. And it's funny because his mother was called Skinny Mary, and my mother knew him as Skinny Mary's son. I digress. So, anyway, so I said, yeah, you look thin. Do you eat food? And he said, yeah, you don't understand. I'm eating meatloaves and lasagnas, and, you know, and he listed, like, and he said, I'm going to the doctor to check this out. Went to the doctor. Everything was fine. He said, I'm going for a colonoscopy, and that's my last thing. I'm going to go in about 2 weeks. I said, all right, cool. He had trouble lifting the Christmas tree with my mother when they shopped for a tree. They used to have a fake tree, now they have a real tree. And so she knew something was up. She was like, why couldn't he lift the tree? You know, she thought maybe he's old because he was about to be 69, you know, so she thought maybe that was that. Well, January rolled around, and he put up my mini blinds in my house for me, and he was on the ladder, and he was a little bit rickety and a little bit shaky, and again, looked a little thinner. Well, January into February time, what happened was I was looking on Facebook one day, and I saw a picture of my dad's feet at the end of the bed. He was taking a picture of Griffin the dog. It's my brother Kevin's pug that's being raised by his grandma now. Griffin was at my dad's feet, and the post was like, oh, your best buddy is always with you when you don't feel well. I have the flu and I'm down, so I have my best buddy. And I remember thinking two things. I remember thinking, one, oh my God, why are you wearing your jeans and sneakers? Take them off and put on your PJs and some socks if you're going to be sick. That's really weird. Why are you wearing your shoes in bed? And the other thing I thought was, oh man, it seems to be really knocking him for a loop. That's one of his expressions, actually. Knock me for a loop. That's what he used to always say. And when you're sick, he would always used to say that you're down for the count. Used to piss me off when I was 11. Now I think it's funny. So he didn't get any better. My mother took him on a Monday, I don't know, to the ER to get fluids because he was dehydrated from days of, you know, unpleasant things coming from him, you know. And so they gave him fluids. They gave him tests. And they said, you don't have the flu. You have a tumor and a tear in your colon, something in your liver, and something in your pelvic region. So all of a sudden there was major surgery involved. And all of a sudden my dad's in intensive care. And all of a sudden everyone's freaking out. My mother sat at home and compulsively shopped to try to, online to try to like stay her anxiety, which is actually how I wound up getting a rose gold iPad for my 40th birthday, but that's another story. So I went to see him at the hospital. He looked skinny as all hell, but he said they got it all, things were great, blah, blah, blah. So I left him, and he had his earphones on, listening to Mario Lanza in his bed. And he was happy because The Big Bang Theory was about to come on. So he came home, he had his birthday, became 69. He had, it became summer. He went to the beach. You know, my parents had this thing where they would go get bagels and go take him to the beach and eat. He put on his Yankee cap and his shorts, and he went out and did his thing. And he was looking skinny, but okay. Went back to walking the dog and everything. He tried to even go back to the gym because he belonged to the Y. Well, when he went back for the checkup, the doctor said, well, we found 2 more little things in there, and so we're going to give you a dose of chemo to even things out, and just to make sure. And he said, sure. So they put the little port thing here. And the last time I saw him alive was August 25th. He came to my house. He showed me his chemo thing, and he made me touch it, and I was like, oh, cool, funky. And, we're making jokes about it. We've always been a very humorous family. We take nothing seriously because even if it's serious, what are you going to do? We find humor in something. And if we can't find humor, we look harder. So, long story short, that's the last time I saw him. He was marveling at my Alexa. I had just got an Alexa from Amazon, and he was, I just call it the Echo. He was asking it questions and making it play music, and he was so astounded that he asked my mother to buy one. They were actually in the diner after he saw me, and he texted me, I just made your mother order Alexa. It's coming. You're going to help me set it up. Well, so summer turned to Labor Day turned to the school year, and so forth. On Friday, September 9th, 8th, he threw up. He blamed the tuna wrap that he'd eaten. My mother blamed the chemo. He said, no, that's ridiculous. I'm going to keep on doing it. He, on Saturday, checked into the hospital because he was not doing well. And that was the last time that he ever saw his house. That Saturday night I was with my ex-husband. We were watching a Billy Joel concert on Madison Square Garden channel. Again, music, having Pepsi and vodka, and enjoying ourselves. And the next morning I spoke to my mother, and she said they'll probably keep him here till Tuesday. That's his next chemo, so maybe he needs fluid, maybe he needs medication, whatever. And I said, okay. She said, I'm going to go see him. And he told me, don't go home and cry. And she said, I'm really trying not to. Well, later that night, my mother called me up, and she said, I just called your brothers. I have 2 younger brothers. And she said, this is probably it. So take off from work tomorrow. We're going to go see him. And it's going to be sometime this week. And I could not believe that, because maybe 4 days ago, I was playing a Words with Friends game with him. He was in 100% perfect spirits. He was eating food, talking on the phone, being a person, marveling at Alexa. I sent him a video of mine playing Sunshine of Your Love by Cream. He sent me his playing Eric Clapton. We're having no, that is Eric Clapton, I forget. Barry Manilow, that's what it was. And it was like he was normal, but I guess he was a lot sicker than we thought. So at 12:34 on September 11th, I guess from the 10th to the 11th, I got the text, he's gone. And suddenly I was down a parent. Suddenly my dad was not on earth. Suddenly I was 40 and not 4 anymore. I was really an adult, and I was really, really, how can I put this? Grieving the loss of my friend. And I think this is the point of the video. Now that I've told you all the gross specifics, I think I want to get to the heart of the matter. And the heart of the matter is this. My dad and I always had a weird relationship. It was a loving, nice one, where we weren't enemies or anything, but it was really weird. Even from the very beginning, like when I was like 3, we were almost like equals, like he was more like my buddy. He wasn't my dad. I mean, he was my dad, but he wasn't like father, like where you have to be afraid and, things like that. He was a dude. He was a cool guy, He's the person who taught me how to use a hammer and a nail, how to lay tile, how to fix your cable wires and your Wi-Fi and, the things to make your home entertainment work. He's the person who taught me what real music was. He's the person who would call up and say, hey, Jane Fonda's on, giving a Lifetime Achievement Award to Diane Keaton. Turn a channel on right now. Or I'd call him up and say, hey, Mario Lanza and the Great Caruso is happening right now. And we'd change the channel just to have each other's back and look out for coolness, And that's the thing, coolness. My dad was cool. He was an awesome guy. He would go to no ends to help you out. He'd help you move. He'd help you paint. He loved to paint. He taught me how to paint the house. He coached my brother in Little League. He took my other brother to karate. He was always, there with a joke and a smile. He'd make you a mixtape or later burn you a CD, to the annoyance of my mother because he was always doing things for other people. He was just a stand-up guy and also really fun to be around. He had a great story. He sometimes took a year and a day telling it like I do, but they were always good. He was a history buff. He know all kinds of things about World War II, all kinds of things about the Civil War. Sometimes he and I would have a conversation, and we'd talk like newscasters. It sounded like Meet the Press when we would have a conversation, and it'd be a little uncomfortable, I'm sure, to some people who didn't want to discuss politics or history. But we enjoyed it. We both have a political party that we lean to pretty seriously, and we speak of that party. And I don't want to get into it here, but I have a side. So that was the thing. I guess what I'm trying to say 15 minutes into this video is I miss my friend Ed. I miss calling him up and saying, hey, guess what? Billy Joel is on MSG. Like that night, I miss him calling me up and asking if my mother was with me, even though she'd only left the house 2 minutes before because he was nervous she was going to come home. I miss seeing him in his sandals and socks, and his Yankee cap and his blue shorts, with his cup of coffee, and his glasses, and his wife beater on, sitting at the computer. I miss the guy on the ladder who is painting my house and telling me that I'm the best son he ever had. And that was one of our inside jokes, because he had 2 sons. I have 2 brothers, and my brothers do household chores now, but I was always the one who did the stuff. I was always the one who wanted to help, and they did pretty well at it. I could paint your house right now. My mother taught me the girl work, and I did the boy work, and that was that. And that's who I miss. 2 years into it, it's not so much I need my dad, because I don't know that I was ever with him like that, I don't know if I was ever daddy's little girl, I wasn't. He did not love me, it's just that we didn't have that kind of thing, it wasn't like that. He was my buddy, and I guess I'm just trying to say I miss my buddy. Now, putting this all together, because you may be sitting here saying, Linda, this is all very technical, and it's a little depressing, and I kind of don't understand the point of this video. The point of this video is that whatever your relationship is with a person that is your parent or parent figure, when it goes away, it leaves a really weird hole. And when it goes away, it really forces you to think about a couple of things, not so much like my mortality or religion or, anything of that nature, but it actually forces me to think about something which is really interesting, which is the passing on of tradition, even if those traditions don't seem traditional. What I mean, I didn't get a set of fine china. I have my Neil Diamond tea, He didn't take me out to buy my ballerina shoes. We sat down and we discussed the Beatles, And whatever is the tradition for you guys, whatever is the tradition between you and your mother, you and your father, your grandma, your aunt, whoever it is that raised you and made you feel like you were you, and shaped the kind of person that you became when you grew up. Whoever that person is, when they die, be prepared that it's going to leave a very weird hole, a hole that can never be filled. I'm not at the point where I start crying at the mere mention of it anymore, certainly, because it's been 2 years. I've gotten an awful lot better, and my family has seen a lot of tragedy, a couple of deaths in the past couple of years, 2 animals, a couple of women, a man. We've lost I think about it, my dog Sophia, my cat Emma, my grandma, my Aunt Christine, and my dad, all in the space of like 2 years. And so, I guess it teaches you a lot, is my point, because nothing is permanent. Enjoy it while you can. I know that sounds trite, but it's actually a thing. And no matter who tells you to get over it, and no matter who tells you the way that you're acting isn't appropriate during the span of grief, yes, it is. And yes, you are. Because there's no time limit on this stuff. There is no proper way to do it. There is no reasoning with it. It just is, and it sucks ass, and it's awful. And you will feel really weird, and you will pick up the phone to try to tell them cool stuff and realize you can't. You will play "Hurt" by Christina Aguilera, and suddenly it means something to you, and you'll cry. You will look at old pics and wish you were back there. Or sometimes you look at old pics and say, oh man, what were we thinking? But the thing is, if you have that stuff to remember, and I have catalogs and catalogs of pics. I've got them on video. I've got a whole bunch of stuff. I've got a voicemail he left my Uncle Charlie on my phone. I have his text thread. And I'm not going to sit and listen to it and look at it every single day. You know, I have things to do like anybody else. And also, I don't want to wallow in my grief. Also, my mother was incredibly devastated after 42 years of marriage, and I'm her best friend, and she's mine, and so I helped her through it, and so I feel like helping her through her incredible grief helped me sort out my own, or at least distract me from it until I was prepared, you know? Because, I mean, she'd known him since she was 19 years old, you know, they were, and she's 63 now. I mean, that's a lifetime of knowing somebody and being there with them every step of the way. They really actually had a decent marriage, loved each other, and were each other's BFF. Like, they were like relationship goals, you know? And so I'm going to put this video down at this point. I'm going to sign off because I've run off the rails, but I think it took me a good 15 to 20 minutes to really flesh out my point. My point is, don't let anybody tell you what to remember. Don't let anybody tell you how to do it. Don't let anybody tell you when it's appropriate to do so. Life can be ugly. This is part of the ugliness. And whatever it takes to make it pretty, you go ahead and do that. If it means wearing the t-shirt of a 74-year-old made fun of guy who sang They're Coming to America Today, okay? Even if it takes what I did earlier today, the honorary quarter pounder from McDonald's, because that was what he used to eat at Mickey D when we'd go. Whatever it is, do it. Do it with pride. Do it knowing that they'd do it with you if they were here. And now, I'm going to say goodnight. And to those of you mourning the loss of someone from September 11th, my sympathies go out to you too. I don't want to forget the gravity of today for so many other people. That is it. And I will see you next time with a hopefully much more uplifting video. And probably better quality. All right.